Perfect. You're all set. Have a good meeting.
Yes, it's Michael. Hey, Brendan, can you go and hit the got it button? You're the closest. Thank you. Look, anybody that's the closest gets the fun job.
He's a button pusher.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:01. This is the Waterways Commission meeting, Wednesday, December 5th, 2023, 6 o'clock. We have Zoom running in the background. I'm going to call the meeting to order with our statement of commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Anytime I'm messing up with this is only my second meeting, just pipe up, okay? Thank you. The Scituate Waterways Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is a disagreement. We value the participation of our committee and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask that our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to, with the acceptance of the agenda.
Moved. Second.
Thank you. Being that we have,
Who's doing notes?
Alicia is back there.
Oh, great.
So she will be there, and we'll do roll calls for these. Brian?
Aye.
Dave Deneen, aye. Brian Kelly?
Aye.
Stephen Moan?
Aye.
Rick Murray?
Aye.
Welcome to see, good to see you.
Thank you. Kreutzberg, aye.
Great, thank you.
David Sinkowski, aye.
Oh, sorry, David. Anyone, and I think that is it.
Susan Harrison.
And Susan Harrison, our board liaison, is also in attendance. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Item number 3, acceptance of the minutes from November 1st, 2023. Has anybody had a chance to review them? I have sent my changes to Alicia. We also received some from Stephen, who also sent them to Alicia, and she was able to get things done. Does anybody like a couple of minutes just to review? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes from November 1st, 2023.
Hey, Mark. Motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? I will do a roll call vote. Ryan?
Aye.
Dave Deneen, aye.
Pass. I was at the meeting. Oh, yeah, I can't second. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, that's true.
Sorry.
I'll second, all right?
Brian
Cronin is going to second.
Abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Yep, so we have 2 abstentions so far, Howie?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. And Stephen, yes. Thank you, guys.
Dave Sinkowski.
Dave, I'm going to forget you. Just yell out, Dave, yes or no on the motion?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We just had a couple pieces of correspondence that are some of the upcoming meetings in town. The first one is the Economic Development Commission. It's a hybrid meeting. The meeting will be held Monday, December 11th, 6:30 here in this room, or you can get online. And the other piece of correspondence is the Scituate Planning Board will be meeting tomorrow night at the Select Board hearing room at, what time is it? 6:30 p.m. And those are the pieces of correspondence.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Advisory tomorrow, Thursday night on a Zoom meeting is reviewing the Harbor Master's operating budget. For anyone who wants to partake, there is a Zoom link posted on their site.
What day is that again?
Tomorrow night, 7:30.
7 p.m. Stephen, I believe, is
7 p.m.
first up.
He's first. Oh, that's a good one. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
One thing that we didn't add into the minutes, but like I said, we're trying to get our chairman's report. I just wanted to thank members of the commission that have been helping out with some of the tasks that we had this past month. And I'd also like to congratulate Scituate Police for getting the boat in the water. And it sounds like they're off and running with their program, so congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll go into Item number 5, we're going to go through this rather quickly so that we can get to our primary discussion tonight, which is our financial update. Anything up from Harbor Master Stephen Moan?
Yeah, Santa Claus went very well.
It was
It was
packed.
packed. Next year, I think we're gonna see if we can't get some porta potties out there as well. But Mike did open up the building for people. It was still overwhelming, the amount of people.
It's unbelievable.
So it was very successful. I sent out a message.
Did Santa look like he had a good summer?
I think he did. I think Mrs. Claus has been awful nice to him.
That's good. Good.
Yep, I'm getting cold again. Probably not much of it either. So other than that, the winter's been going very well. Woods Hole Group has been at the harbor. They did their sample analysis. They went around and they did the core samples for the core. I had them split open the tubes inside the building in the garage, got the heat going for them, so try to make it as easy for them as possible so they weren't outside freezing. They got all the core samples that they needed, and those have been sent out to the place where they do the chemical or the analysis.
How many cores did they take?
They took 32.
And how far down do they?
It depends on how deep it is and how deep the dredge is. So there was some that went down about 8 feet, and others that, in other areas, they could only get down about 3 or 4 feet because of the type of material that was down there, rock and cobble. But they take these tubes and they drive them down with a machine that's on the boat, and they pull them up, they put the caps on the end, they're all dated and marked, and then they cut them open. They actually put them in what looks like gutter, and they have this thing that you'd use if you were a tin knocker, and just split these things open, they lay them across, and then they look at them for color, they take pictures of them, they have this ruler next to them, they send the photos to the Army Corps, the Army Corps tells them how many cores, how many different layers there are, and then he kind of taps along the mud. It's a very nice smell, by the way.
Didn't find any iPhones or
Taps
anything.
along, no iPhones. Then what they do is they have these mixing bowls, and they actually, scoop out the sections of material, and they kind of mix it all together, and then they put it into these little vials, and they sign everything off and date everything, and if they have any questions, they were on the phone with the Army Corps most of the day, and they were there 2 days.
Oh boy. It's quite a process regardless. I know a lot of cores, which is good
Yeah,
to understand what's going on underneath.
yeah, they were originally supposed to have half that many, but they were having some issues getting down to where they needed to be and where the Corps needed them to be. So, but they did get everything done, and they got all of it done, and it's all been, it was picked up by the company that, transports it. It was all signed off for them.
What happens with the spoils?
From after they open it up,
Yeah.
they just take it back down the dock and just
Go
kind of
back
slide
over.
it back and from whence it came.
Yeah, very interesting.
But there's not a
process.
whole lot left. The tubes, they're only about this big, and you're not getting a whole lot of material.
So, yeah, great. Anybody have any questions regarding that process?
No.
It was pretty interesting how they do it. And they have to go out and, every time they do it, they have to go back outside and sanitize all the bowls and all the, spatulas. The stuff, it was right out of your kitchen.
Wow.
But it all had to be stainless steel. The next step gets analyzed. And then that information gets sent off to the Army Corps so the Army Corps can let us know what to do, whether we have to go to the next steps or if what they've received is good enough. And that all depends on what they find.
Understand. And timeline until, how long is that process until we'll actually see a report or a rough approximation?
They weren't quite sure.
Does that go to the Army Corps?
It goes to the Army
Oh,
Corps.
okay, understand. That'll take a while.
Just so you know, I was speaking with Greg Frazier down in Falmouth,
Oh, yeah.
and he just got his renewal of his comprehensive dredge permit, complete renewal. It wasn't like just a paperwork renewal. And it took 19 months.
From submission or from start?
I think from submission.
So we're looking at a year and a half?
Yeah, a year and a half to 2 years
Okay.
Okay.
for permits.
Yeah.
Just for permits.
Okay, and that's what I think we've been sort of planning.
Yeah.
Does anybody out there watching have any questions on this process? Okay, thank you. Anything else, sir?
Other than that, it went pretty well. They were happy with what they saw. I was speaking to one of the scientists. I said, do you see anything that's glaring as a problem? He said he didn't see any types of fuels or any like rainbow sheens, when they split the mud open.
Sure. And you said that they will be able to join us for our January meeting with an
Yes.
update, just to
Yeah.
have them give us an update where
Yep.
they stand. Very good.
And this is areas that have all been dredged before, right?
Yeah, the only area that we didn't have much of a history on was by the back floats, by the ramp itself. But it would have had to have been dredged at some point because it's actually a boat ramp back there.
The Lobson's floats?
Yeah.
That area?
So the Lobsterman's area was dredged, but we're going down to the ramp itself.
Oh.
We imagine that it was probably there and it was just, we just can't find papers on it.
Very good. Great, thank you. Dock boxes, just a quick update. We went to the select board meeting a couple weeks ago. Dave Sinkowski, myself, Stephen, and they had some questions and wanted us to try to add a little bit more detail to the amendment. We've been fortunate to work with Mike O'Neill, Brian, myself. We sort of started beating it back up and going through and reviewing what the select board were looking for to try to beef it up a little, and we've got an initial rough draft started. My plan, in speaking with Stephen, is to try to accomplish this for the next couple of weeks and bring it up to a vote at our January meeting with hopefully an approved document. If we get it, the commission to approve the amendment as with the changes, then we will get it brought back to the select board for their approval. We're sort of we're just watching the timeline so that Stephen, if there are changes, so that Stephen can get the new amendment attached to the rules and the regs for the printer.
Contract.
I'm sorry, for the contract. Thank you. For the printer, which has to be ready to go for the beginning of February. You all right on that?
Yeah.
Okay, got it right.
Yeah, so I think Dave Sinkowski is in contact with Jeff Dugan and Bob Vogel. Jeff Dugan's with Mass Office on Disabilities, and Bob Vogel is the building department, and he also has got something to do with the disability ADA in town.
So we'll get some type of from the town, as well as put together the amendment, and hopefully that will do well. I think once we get that draft work done, we'll send it over to Stephen, and I'd like to have the town solicitor sort of take a peek and see if there's any other language that we have to put into it to make sure that it will satisfy the town. So I thank everybody for their help on that. Are there any questions? Dave, any questions, any thoughts so far on where we are?
Nope, pretty straightforward, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mike O'Neill, I see you're on. Thanks for your help the other day. I thought we got a lot done. So, we'll continue moving forward on that. So thank you for that. We're going to hold on liaison reports until our next meeting. New business, I haven't really seen much. Nobody said anything too crazy, so we'll table that until our January meeting. Brendan's here. I just wanted a quick update from police and see if there's anything new and exciting besides the boat getting launched.
No, that's really the big update. We outlined our training plan, and so that'll start tomorrow, and we'll start getting people up to speed on that and really shake the boat down and make sure that nothing came loose or whatever else from the trip across from Seattle. And that's it. Our natural resource officer's been out several times in the rivers with the MEP for duck season. No issues, but they've been out there for that. So other than that, it's a quiet time of year.
That's great, thank you. And now to what we've all been looking forward to.
I think you're overselling this.
Probably are, but one of the things that's really important on where we're gonna be financially as we continue to move forward is understanding where we are and where we think we need to be. So thanks to Brian, as always, for just sort of keeping an eye on our financial stats. And he's gonna go and run us through what he has found out and where we are. And hopefully we'll be able to continue to move things forward. So I'd like to turn the meeting over to Brian Kelly and say thanks again for all the hard work you put together.
Absolutely. So I believe the first item on this, and I'm going to do this quickly, is, bear with me for a second. Thank you very much. Is Scituate Waterways. So big thanks to Stephen and Brian from Scituate Waterways, Nancy Holt as well.
Yeah, Brian Kelly.
To much lesser degree. We had effectively Scituate Waterways, based upon the contract of approximately 12 years ago, give or take, paid quarterly rent rates of about $25,000, and then we received an override on their revenues. It's grown significantly. And for some reason, it initially started they paid in September and December, and then it shifted to June and October, unless there were any type of audit issues going on at Scituate Waterways. When they purchased Monahan, obviously they had to file for an extension, which impacted us getting paid. It caused us a problem this past June, since we needed that money to be able to finish in the black, so to speak. So it became an effort that was almost like, as I use the expression, a crackjack box. You never know what we're going to get until we get to the end date. So working with Brian, Stephen, and Nancy, we came up with the idea of doing quarterly payments based upon the prior year. So let's say that it was $80,000. So every quarter they'll pay us 20, and the fourth quarter there'll be a true up, because then their financials will be audited and done. So if they only did 80, they'll pay us the 20. If they did 100, they'll pay us 20 plus the differential, so another 20. So we're anticipating about a $40,000 payment this December, the end of this month from them, as well as their normal monthly rent of about 25. So our numbers on Stephen's actual financials are a little understated, which is a good thing, because it will all true up for this coming year. So a big thanks, I'm serious. Stephen, you really stepped in at the very end, because there was a lot of confusion about what checks had cleared and hadn't been paid, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to be a much cleaner thing. So once we I think we're just waiting on final agreement from Nancy. Once we do, then we'll turn this over to our attorney to add an amendment to the existing document, and then we can move forward. Question?
So in year one, they make a certain amount of money. In year two, your first three payments are based on year one?
On what their audited financials from year one.
And then the fourth payment in year two is the delta between year one and the rest of year two?
Correct, audited year two, because they anticipate.
Because the audit happens after the third payment.
Correct.
Before the fourth payment.
Correct.
That's a great solution we're looking at.
I think so, yes. So it
Just makes it easier.
it's a lot easier.
Cleaner for everybody.
Because
You're dealing with real money.
And that way we're not taking.
And you got a
big-
transition where you gotta figure that
And
out.
we're not taking
Correct.
a massive chunk out of,
Out of them or
About his
us.
business, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
right, it makes it easier for them to balance
Yeah.
throughout the year.
That's great. Okay, so that was great. So now I'm just gonna jump right into, give people a quick overview. This is, the revenue for, that we've all seen many a times, dating back, FY 18 all the way through to the proposed budget. The proposed budget is what Stephen put in with the TA's adjustments. On the far right side, 25, you'll see 3 areas that I highlighted. I feel these are very conservative numbers and should go up. Jumping down, see the revenue numbers, expenses. And I've added in here, you can actually see, here and here, I've added in, a calculation. So I took a 7-year average of what the revenues have increased, and it's about 1.5%. 7-year average of expenses, and it's about 6.8. I tried to normalize it for the 10% slip and $2 mooring increase that we enacted FY 22. So that's outside of that. So the net here is, this jives pretty much with, I ran the numbers out 13 years as well, from 2009 to 21, which was prior to the rate increase, and our revenue increase was about 3%, and our OpEx was 5.2. So the reason I'm going into this is because when I look at this document that I created, which is a non-official document, I have in the top line items in green that you can see, something I can adjust and change. So I'm using 1.5 and 5% for revenue increase of 1.5 and an annual increase of 5%. Now, our revenue numbers are kind of fixed, so it's really more growth from Scituate Boatworks, Docwa, and things like that, because obviously slip fees, moorings, excise tax, those are 3 of the 4 big revenue items. The 4th is Scituate Boatworks. So those are kind of fixed. So really there's limited growth in that area. The CPI increase over that same time frame, if we had $100 in purchases in 2009, in 2024, that same bucket would be 147. So there's been a 47% increase in that time frame. If I look at it from 2018 to 2024, the CPI increased about 27%. So our operating expenses are kind of falling in line with that. It's something that obviously can't be controlled. The other big gating item that is obviously personnel costs. So we had 2 on that front. 1, normal salary increases, which average out about 3% a year across America. I took a look at a 10-year track record, and it's been about a 31% increase, which obviously comes back to that 3%. In addition, our seasonal guys, we did a rate increase to them because we were in danger of having some of them poached. So they went from some of them went from about $16 to $19 or so an hour. So another 20% increase on that. That's about 200,000 and change. So it's significant. And that should taper down now on that side of the fence. And we also have the cross charge from SPD of about 45,000, where we're paying for part of the salaries for Brendan and his team to be able to drive the boat. So those are the big items that are in our OpEx area. And if you take a look, when I run these, you okay on this? Okay, when I run these numbers out, I've taken a look and I said, okay, great. We have, let's see, I got to get this thing out of here. Hide, there we go. We have, in Stephen's 5-year capital plan, we have the harbor dredge that's showing up as FY 25. Obviously, that's a little aggressive. I believe it should be pushed out, but just for the
Just in case we're early.
Well, for the point of doing it and matching up with his cap, I did that, and the South River dredge, and that's, the 750 is our share of it, so South River dredge, from talking to both Mike DeMeo and Steven, we're guessing it's probably gonna be somewhere in the vicinity of 3 million, so, 1.5 from Seaport slash, whomever it is on the mass side. I know there's another agency that gets dredging money, and I've just forgotten right now.
Housing and urban development.
Right, HUD, and 50% to each town, so that'll be $750,000 on that side. For us, the 3 million represents the total cost. It's really 1.5 million because it's a 50-50.
But I still have to have it
Correct.
available.
So, knowing that, I then took our projections that I already shown you guys, and I added in new debt. And running it with the 1.5 and 5% increase over time, and adding in the debt, which Nancy gave me the numbers, looks like we're gonna be adding approximately $250,000 once we complete the dredge, or once we do the dredging and then complete the debt financing. So what that does to us, you can see, it puts us in a negative situation in the first year. So we've already heard that this is gonna get pushed out a little bit, but once we do these 2 dredge projects, we will be in a negative or a deficit as opposed to adding to our retained earnings. So this is a giant flare. If we are to proceed with these 2 projects to get the other ones, we need to figure out how we're going to pay for this. Questions? Okay. So that being said, if anybody really cares, I'll get all the debt service for the other objects, the harbor master building, the SMP upgrade. I'm not even counting on those because I believe the harbor master building is really closer to 2030, and SMP expansion, why we can talk about it before we do the harbor dredge. So this is just those 2 projects. So how do we pay for this thing?
So what's in retained earnings now, Ryan?
About 200, I'll pull it up for you right away, $240,000 after the spring town meeting, I believe.
So,
216, I apologize.
okay, so 200,000, and so that negative 67,000 would go against that if we don't read.
No, we can't use retained earnings to pay for operating expenses, so therefore
Okay.
we would have to either cut expenses.
Yeah.
Right, or we would have to increase revenue. Those are the only 2 levers that we're allowed to pull in this. We can't go use retained earnings to pay for operating expenses. Correct, chief?
Or debt service.
Or debt service, correct. We can use retained earnings to apply for a grant,
Understood.
but we cannot use it to pay for debt service.
What year was that when it went red?
The very first year we
25.
complete, 25, if we completed the first leg, the
Yeah.
harbor dredge.
Yep.
Now, the reality is it's probably
Understood.
27.
Yeah.
But
Principal holes.
let's talk about how we do this. So just to refresh everybody's memory, that's what's in revenue. So boat excise is kind of fixed. We have slip fees, mooring fees, marina use fees, also known as water user fees. And after that, really, the rest of them, I don't think we're gonna be selling a lot of ice that can offset these costs.
I was
So,
gonna say, we should up the price of the ice.
so the other one is Scituate Boat Works.
30,000 a bag.
So Scituate Boat Works, so it's really the 4 big items are slip fees, mooring fees, marina user fees, water fees, and Scituate Boat Works. Scituate Boat Works is not a lever that we can adjust, obviously, since we're in a contract, so it really comes down to those 3. So I looked at it and said, and this is obviously a discussion for everybody here, since we're looking at strictly dredging for the South River dredge, South and North River, and the harbor dredge. This is something that should be shared by, in my opinion, all boaters. Everyone will benefit from this. This is not, I don't think it should be put on the backs of either the mooring or the slip owners exclusively. So that being said, what would fee increases look like? So if we increased, as I said, there's about $250,000 in new debt once we do the 2 dredging projects. If we increase the water use fee or the marina user fee, depending upon marine user fee, sorry. There are 1,377 boats that contribute $125. So it's about $172,000 in revenue. Just as a side note here, the water user fee or the
Waterways.
Waterways user fee.
Waterways user maintenance fee.
so what it's actually on Nancy's document is now they're calling it marina user fees.
Well, it's,
Don't,
Yeah,
I
it's
know,
moorings.
I know, it's very confusing.
that's not good.
No. So that being said, water use fee, waterways user fee, whatever we want to say, it's not to use, obviously,
Freshwater.
fresh water is to use the waters of Scituate. Okay, so that being said, $172,000 generates $172,000 in revenue, there's $803,000 in OpEx. OpEx being defined as no debt service. This is just to run the harbor master's office from soup to nuts, from gas to paper to garbage pickup to salaries to OPED, pension benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So it covers about 21% of OpEx today, the waterways.
And all the private marinas, public marina, and
Everybody pays.
everybody pays that. Commercial folks too?
Everybody pays.
Yes. So $25 increase to 150 would give us about 35,000, and you guys can see the rest. Double it, 68,000, 103,000 for 75, 137,000. Slip increase. 10% would generate about $70,000. We just had a slip increase in 2021, then it went into effect in 2022, FY that is. And our study that we did in 2022 showed that Scituate was midpoint amongst the public marinas. We're literally, of the 7 marinas that we went out and surveyed, we were smack dab right in the middle. Mooring increase. Today we're at $8 a foot. We went up $2 in the same timeframe, 2021 to 22. Mooring revenue gives us under $17. If we increase it $1, that would generate about $13,000. Again, 2022 study, and actually Dave and I also made some call arounds on it, and we're actually on the high end. Plymouth the most expensive. I believe Plymouth has a base fee of $50 and then $10 a foot. The surrounding towns, marinas, the surrounding town mooring fees are in the 8, 7, and either somebody's at 6. I can't remember who it is. Cohasset.
2014 was their last increase.
So if we're gonna do the debt, if we're gonna do the dredging, we need to figure out how to pay for it. And we either slash expenses, which I don't know if we can do, or we have to increase some type of fees.
What was the delta you're looking for in that first year?
So it's gonna add 250 in debt, but the good news is we have a lot of debt coming off. So I'm going back to it now. Let's see,
So
projections with new debt.
62.
This is it here, right?
Oh, but it grows.
So our current debt service is here, line 15. And I'm sorry, I should have floated the years. That would have been helpful.
That's what I asked.
So our current debt drops down, as you can see, all the way, right? From a high of 2 years ago of 429 down to the 215, 171 area. However, when we assume that our expenses are going to be increasing as well, when we add the cost for the South River and North River and Harbor dredge, that's when it puts us over the top. And that would be, again, I apologize for not floating the years, the very first year that we do it, it's FY '25. We're no longer contributing to retained earnings. Now, retained earnings is historically fairly low. I mean, it's been lower. But we're sitting somewhere around, I believe it was, help me out here, you guys saw 230 or something like that?
202, I think, something like that. Low twos.
216.
216, right. So 216, we used to be consistently around 4 to 5. However, we funded out a number of projects. Obviously, the pedestal projects in both marinas, the new marina, the new pilings in both marinas, the new docks, fingers in Cole Parkway. And then we got whacked with Storm Riley, 2019, chief, or 18?
Riley was 2018, March 2nd and 4th.
And we had to come up with about $170,000 out of retained earnings to pay until we were able to get our FEMA reimbursement, which thank you again, chief, for helping on that so much. So sitting at 216, if we have a tremendous storm over the winter, that's a problem for us.
Well,
Go
so
ahead.
is Nancy comfortable at 216 or does she want to get us? I always remember us wanting to be like 500,000, like,
We always want to be north of 4.
yeah. And then isn't the marina insured?
Sure it is, but just like with FEMA, we front end load, we absorb the front end cost and then apply for reimbursement. So
FEMA will pay for anything that's not insured, only not insured. So if the town's insured for it, they don't get involved. But if it's something they're not insured for from a storm, they'll come in there, if we can justify it, they'll pay 75%.
FEMA.
Correct.
75%.
but we have to absorb the front end cost, right, chief?
We do.
Yes.
Yep.
And if I remember correctly, it was almost a year before we got reimbursed. Give or take.
Yeah.
So how quickly will Nancy want to get us back to 400,000?
She's not pressuring us to make a move up into that direction. I'm just saying, sitting in the low 200s on retained earnings, again, if we have a calamity, it's,
Oh, yeah, and we
It's a
have
problem.
significant projects.
I mean, something as stupid as one of Steve's engines blows, right?
Yeah.
We gotta come up with 45 grand, right? To be able to repair that. So we should be looking at this no matter what. However, once we do this debt service. Now, so just understand this line item down here, that's the additive to retained earnings. Right? So if we have a surplus, we're adding this much every year. So theoretically, we would add about $57,000 to retained earnings. And if I take this away, let's just, for fun, just take it away, right? So the math didn't add up there. Nope. I must have just blown away a cell. So obviously that was 62,000. If we didn't have 172,000, we would be adding back in close to $100,000, right? So we will be adding to the retained earnings because we're not doing this dredging project in FY25, which is starting July 1. But at some point, when we start doing these projects, we will obviously head down the road that we will have to do something. So I'm advocating that we take a hard look and have a hard conversation over the next meetings about what we should be doing in terms of a fee increase, because I don't understand how we can cut OpEx, but would welcome a conversation if somebody thinks we could.
Question?
David?
Yes, sorry. Do we have any data or, I don't know, waterways fees, how we compare to other towns? Because it's not something I'm familiar with.
So I was concentrating on, with Stephen's help and Mike DeMayo, as to were there any kind of ceiling as to what we could raise it to? In other words, is it 10%, 20% uplift? And both Stephen and Mike feel that it's something that there is, we're free to raise it to whatever we need. In asking in a very small scale, some other towns, it seems that many don't have it. David?
Okay. And just one last, I guess not a question, a statement. I'm usually alone on this feeling, but you have approximately 75 boaters up in the Herring River, which has not been dredged in 30 years, and it's not going to be dredged again. And then we have no plans to do it ever in the future. Yet we're going to ask them to pay for this, and that, I don't know, it just doesn't set completely well with me. But
I got it. I'm just a numbers guy here
yeah,
on this
I
one,
know.
right? I'm just saying if we want to do 90% of the Scituate waters, the North River, South River, and the harbor, we have a significant bill to pay.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I'm just thinking about those people that they're not. You can argue, well, they're going to enjoy the harbor too, but they can't get to it. Anyway,
The fee covers more than just dredging, but also we said everybody pays that fee. People in trailers don't pay that fee. There's a lot of people in trailer boats.
That's
We've had a
correct.
discussion over the years.
Mhm.
Maybe it's time we do raise the fee for the waterways use committee and include them in some way, because there's people coming all the way from Taunton to Scituate.
That's true.
Because it's free. So maybe if everybody benefits from that, the water use fee may be a way to target it and include more people and raise that rate.
I don't disagree, and I also think that one of the things that have been near and dear to the mayor's heart has been the parking lot, and I think we should readdress that again.
Well, and Dave Doffany, 356 Clap Road. I would say again, as I said a few years back, let's look at all sources of revenue that could be had. One of the things, that maybe I bring it up under new business, just as a caveat, but they're talking about the Mordecai Lincoln Mill property, and there was some discussion about expanding kayaking access to that body of water, which is in Scituate, and, you know, is that gonna be one of those things that pops up as who's patrolling it, who's there for safety, who's there for those things? So I don't know if any of that discussion, I haven't heard it at this forum, or I don't know if it's happened at the Harbor Masters, if they've included him in the discussion of that being promoted more so than what it is, but that might be something that we get our hands on now before it runs away. But certainly the work I did on the boat ramp, what can be done, what can't be done, those types of things, I think I still have all that stuff, but there's a definite source of revenue, and it's been all over social media that it's the only south of Boston public boat ramp that doesn't charge. So you've got people coming from Plymouth
Right.
to use that. And I don't begrudge them from doing that. I mean, but at a certain point,
I agree with you, Dave.
yeah, it's time to address it. And like I said, the waterway user fee is a big thing. I mean, when they hit the water, they're using fire, they're using police, they're using our message, they're using
Right.
all those things. And they're not known to be money spenders within the town, so they're not filling up gas. It's a whole thing. We went through all that. So again, I would say maybe revisit some revenue sources that we can include in what's going on in here before, again, we just, pass the buck to what we already have set up. So.
Yes, sir.
Are we allowed to charge at Jericho?
Yeah,
That was my question.
I think we looked into it and we.
I had all that documentation that I turned in that, yes.
we spent
The state
countless
sets-
hours
sets
on
the
this
rate.
subject, and
Yeah.
the answer is yes.
State sets the rate.
They set the rate.
That
Hey,
matters.
The town sets the rate and the state agrees to it, if you can validate it.
If you can,
Yeah, but, okay.
but the state has final say. We went in and said, it's $40 a day to park, you know. they're gonna say,
We would do it the same way Marshfield does it.
Susan,
Hey, I just have two things. One, on the Mordecai Lincoln property, I just want to update people that, yes, there's been discussions of, it's amazing property and water access, but there have not been decisions made. There's currently a committee forming
Yes.
to look into all of the options. So we will keep you apprised of that. So I did want to answer Dave's question on that. And then also my understanding on the ramp is the park, you can charge for parking, but not for use of the ramp, since we did receive state funding to build it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think,
It's the cost to
we
manage.
heard that Marshfield was something like $7,000 a year just from parking fees in their marina.
I think it's 75,000.
Oh, yeah, it's
All right.
almost, probably almost 100,000. It's profitable, definitely.
Okay,
The caveat to that I looked into it was that the money generated from that facility should be reinvested back into the facility, whether it's for oversight, whether it's for marine patrol, whatever it might be. There's a balance there that has to happen, but there's also the user fee, the waterway user fee, that a portion of the monies collected can go towards that as an expense. And I'd be happy, Mr. Chairman, to dig that out if we want to go over it sometime, just so that.
I think that we need to really look at all the options, and I really like your ideas.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Rick?
If we charge for Jericho, do we have to assume responsibility for paving and anything else like that?
No,
No, so it's exactly the same deal?
it
that
just
we
gets,
currently have?
it's, the money's supposed to get driven back in to the boat ramp and parking area. And that would include, police patrols going through and, harbor master going down there.
But we would not assume any more responsibility for the O and M
No,
of the floating docks there, the pilings
No.
or any of that?
no, we already do that. Because we take them out and
Yeah, yeah.
we put them away for the winter, and we put them back. Like they came down
Who pays
last
for
spring
refurbishing?
and they painted the lines.
Yeah, they did that, yeah.
Yep, they're in the process with a plan to repave and to replace.
And that would not
some-
change.
Some lighting, no.
We take care of the expense of the security lighting, but they'll
Sure.
replace the
Yeah,
As long as
fixtures.
nothing changes, whatever we're doing
No,
now,
we have the fixtures on the poles.
Must rent them?
Yeah, we rent them from National Grid.
Well, they had taken down that lighting that was there because it was dangerous.
It was all rotted
It was
out.
all rotted out, so that's the temporary lighting, but it never got revisited. But again, going back to the work that I did, what's generated there can go back into it. You can manage your own facility. The question is, who manages it? Is this a glorified now boatyard, storage yard, like a hot potato, who's gonna handle it, or is somebody gonna, is the police gonna handle that, or is DPW gonna handle it? Who's gonna be the point person on it, I think is as important as how you raise the funds.
great. I think I fully agree, Dave, that that's sort of a second question. We should see if it makes any economic sense. Like, what are the approximate numbers that we have that are going in and out of there? Just to see what a typical rate is at Marshfield, so we just get to see
So Marshfield's the
how
parking
many.
area down by his new building as well.
Yeah, that whole lot, it's a
Yeah,
trailer park.
Which is
Yeah, but
a
just,
lot bigger than the lot we have.
so just
They
running.
did a
some
count on
numbers.
the, yeah,
Yeah,
Then he also
regardless
has-
of what we think it might be now here tonight, I just think we should, they have this many spaces, we have that many spaces, they charge that amount, we would charge that amount, plus or minus, and just see what that number is, and if it's worth it. And then if it's worth it, we can get into the next step, which you appropriately raise a implementation. It's like, all right, who does it? Because any amount of oversight or responsibility we cede to another group in the town means we're gonna be getting less revenue. And so there's a calculus here that we just need to.
no, but if there's a portion of the launching fee, parking fee, however you want it, that goes towards waterway user fee, then that, if it's a $40 launch and 10 goes to water, there's a way to sit down and run it out. I mean,
We gotta see.
with what Brian just did here, I mean, there's a way to run it out, and I'm sure
Right.
it's again, going back to fair and equitable. If we're all pitching in for this one way or another, that's, everybody's enjoying it, and everybody's has skin in the game.
Mhm.
When you go outside of that,
Right.
you get some dysfunction, yeah.
Yeah, it might be appropriate for us to create a subcommittee to put
wanted to
this.
get the discussion
Yeah,
out.
but we
and
looked
then-
at this like 10 years ago, and it looked like
Yep.
we were gonna spend $2 to collect $1.
Yeah,
But with the automation that's available now, where people can prepay their parking and nobody has to touch it, it's a whole different animal.
Well, I think, and one of the other things that I did find out was there was, commercial use is permitted under permission. So there's hundreds of boats that are trailered there to be launched that go to Cohasset, that go to, the river, that go to Marshfield even, all that stuff. So, is that an expense borne by the boaters that are there now, or is the commercial entity that's using the ramp throw some skin in that? I don't know. Those are things that should be discussed, but I think it's valid to, again, look back into it, seeing what's being projected here and the increased cost of what's going on.
I'm sorry, you mean the commercial lawn, people who
The
launch?
haulers, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Sims, places like that.
Yeah, so
Really,
it's-
they need permission from, fishing and boating access to actually technically to use that ramp for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, if you get hauled, I get hauled out down at, the Marshall Yacht Club, that public ramp.
Yeah.
Sims charges me a fee, whether they pay Marshall that fee, but they probably pay Marshall a yearly fee.
Yeah, I don't know how all of that works, but it's,
Commercial haulers pay a fee, Hingham charges it, Weymouth charges it, at their boat ramps. So commercial haulers is a flat fee that they pay at each ramp.
Yeah, but they pass it along to you, Yeah.
Sure.
of course.
like in a line item, mileage, fee.
Yep.
But again, we don't charge them Scituate.
Yeah,
And
you
for
probably
another
still
way-
charge me a fee.
Yeah.
Well,
It's 100% profit where I come from.
Brian, what was the water use fee revenue for the town?
I believe it was 170.
Yeah, so 175.
170, so if you take a nominal increase on that, and then you add in some of the people that are using the harbor, that use the ramp, whether you don't charge parking, you don't use the ramp, but once they hit the water, they're using our waterways, you're using our facilities, using our police, fire, everybody else. That might be a fair way to go, and it's consistent for everyone.
Right.
And then, I think that, go to 150 a foot and you include them, maybe that gets you the delta. It's not more in that range.
And we had plenty of discussion on paddlecraft, which is my passion. And
it's my passion too.
Increasing-
I love getting out there.
increasing free access, every parking spot is used, there's other things used and that's a slow move. We're working on that, right? This
But
doesn't cost you-
if you
Well,
charge for,
I'm glad you brought that up because this was discussed in the last Waterways meeting and the decision, we discussed moving forward with the Conservation Committee about picking the next location for the racks because the last racks were quite successful. So I was actually gonna ask if there was someone on the Waterways who would work with me on that, maybe someone who has good contacts with the Conservation Committee and could help me out.
I'll help you, Dave.
Thank you.
if you charge for parking in Jericho, there are single parking spots, not trailer spots that you can charge.
Right, and the single parking spots are for
Car top.
car top carried, in other words, so you've got,
They should be
from my,
charged as well.
and again, this maybe, instead of this having a discussion at this forum right now, maybe it should be in a subcommittee, but you've got situations happening now where the Jericho area is being used for pickup and drop off of either charter customers or boating customers or however that all works. And that's exactly what it's not supposed to be used for. It's supposed to be used for fishing and boating access, not a overflow parking lot for patrons that pay to go on boats.
Or a marina or a club next door.
And then you get the Pier 44 property, and that's all, my last rendering of that was it was way more grass than parking lot there, so it's not gonna be overflow parking or whatever. So it's increasing, slip fees have increased dramatically in the private marinas. People are pushing the envelope to get moorings. They're trying to find other ways to access the harbor, we had this discussion about the turnout on 3A, people using that as parking to access the river, and I mean, this is 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was on the edge of out of control, and probably during COVID, it increased, and maybe it's come back a little bit. I don't know specifically, but this.
A question, sorry for Steve Moan. One of the areas we could look at is possibly on the dinghy docks. I noticed that in the new dock system, they're really well numbered. So I think there's something like 40 or 50 spots for dinghies. But when you look at them on any given day, weekend, night, there's only maybe 20 dinghies there. Is there room to expand?
It's kind of like the moorings and some slips. People pay for them, but they're not using them.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. And is that a fee we should also look at? I mean, it's, obviously, there's only 50% utilization from what I can see. And
It's a giveaway?
maybe we should raise it.
And double the amount of dinghies you have if nobody's showing up. Sell out.
Yeah, that's great until they all show up.
Like a beach sticker.
That's
All
your problem.
1,000 people at the beach at the same day.
Don't tie up at your house.
Well, it seems to me that we have some work to do, and there's a lot of great ideas. It is definitely one of these things that we should probably put together a committee of 3 or 4 folks to really sort of start digging into this, and then report back to our commission on alternatives. We need to definitely figure out how we're going to try to deal with the shortfalls that are going to happen when we actually get in to the dredging. So I would like to see whether or not I'd like to make a motion to create a subcommittee for the,
We don't call them, they're working groups.
oh, you want to call it a working group?
Yeah, because
Yes.
subcommittees then need to
Yes.
have,
Right.
there's some legal something or
But
other.
with the subcommittee, you need to post agendas and count quorums and publicly notify.
So should we make a motion to create a working group for this topic, or can we just go and see who wants to get on the working group and have it just get started for the beginning of the new year?
I'm looking to you, Mr. Selectman. No, I'm not a selectman.
Mr.
Once a
Past
selectman, always a selectman.
Right.
I'm not sure we need a motion, but I think we should certainly set up a working group to look into this, at least do a high level. I'd be glad to help that working group, but I can't run it.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't run it.
Yeah, you're a busy dude.
I'm glad to like follow along and chime in where I can, but I can't run it.
Get ready to do that.
And I'm not a Waterways member, but I'd be happy to volunteer in that as well.
Helps.
Thanks, Dave.
Puts it back into-
Anybody else on the commission want to try to jump on this? Well,
I certainly.
I would.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, I don't mind helping out too, as long as.
Well, we got the whole
get a
commission at this
quorum,
point.
yeah.
We need a working group, won't we?
That's okay, you know, right now, there's like, there's 4 right there. And, you know, Brian can sort of oversee if that's okay. Chief, the 2 Daves, Rick. That'd be great. And we'll sort of look at that and try to get back, you know, monthly on opportunities and the direction that the working group is gonna go.
So who's the main point of contact?
It'll be Brian Cronin.
thank you, Brian.
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 So it's to look at dinghy fees,
Look at it.
parking lot fees, stickers on trailers, what else?
Additional revenue sources.
What else? Why not naming fees for the 2 marinas?
No.
I'm serious.
David
You know?
Tucket.
TKO,
Tucket
Maritime
North.
Center, Marina.
Tucket North.
Yeah.
So those 3 plus alternate, any other ideas?
So you
Well, whatever that working group discusses, I guess, offline to come up with.
Right.
I'm sure if there's 4 or 5 people involved, there's 4 or 5 different angles, and that's the whole deal. That's the whole
So
point.
the low hanging fruit would be the parking lot, because you did a lot of work
No,
around pulling
it's
it.
that, the groundwork was done on that. I'll
Right.
make sure
You
that
can
I.
pull that. If we find out from DeMayo, if I remember correctly from a conversation I had with Mike, he overbooked it, and I can't remember, he said 3 or 4 to 1. So if he had 100 slips, he gave out 300 stickers.
Wow.
And it was first come, first served, and it was in the rules and regulations, and too bad so sad if you show them there's no.
Yeah, they treat it like a beach sticker, so
Right.
that there's more beach stickers sold than there are spaces, but it's not everybody goes on the same day at the
Correct.
same, so I don't know if there's a formula for that.
Yeah, he gave me a number when I was doing what a few people just did,
Yeah.
wow, right? It was either 2 or 3 to 1, right?
Yeah, I think we had, I wanna say 70 spaces.
70?
I think so, if I remember right, I'll have to check.
We have 70?
Yeah.
Because I remember one day going, like 4th of July weekend, I think I counted 40 boat trailers, boats,
Yeah, it's-
cars with trailers, right?
Yeah, it's more than that.
It's more, okay.
You also have to have this, that car top, the single. car
Single spots, everything.
Single spots.
Oh, right, yeah,
Those are
single
still
spots.
considered spots.
got it.
He did,
What do you do?
Mike does stickers for single spots too?
Got a few single spots, stickers for everything.
Okay.
They're using them.
No, it's,
Or the ticket, or the ticket.
and then do you have to buy a ticket too? Like, cause he has a, he talked
We can
about,
discuss.
we can talk about this.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he has a
Can't
decal,
afford
I
those.
believe, right?
Yeah, I would assume that the working group can probably bring DeMayo in for a meeting and just sort of pick his brain a little bit.
The other place we should look is Plymouth. They're
Yes.
got a very well-oiled machine down there on a Sunday.
Hmm.
And they make a lot of money on it. Way beyond even DeMayo's thing. They have it all.
Which specific spot down there?
Right next to the Harbor Masters building.
Yeah, okay.
They have it choreographed, so people line up and again, when they can launch,
Yeah,
they have it all figured out.
so that's just north of DVMS?
Careful, because we might take away that parkland and make it trailer parking.
It's right next to, East Bakeville.
Yeah, there's only like 13 spots
Long time.
Yeah,
over at Pier
that's
44.
kind of tough. Oh, no, there's a tough, the Jericho Ramp doesn't have too many boat spots either compared to Plymouth or Marshall.
Right.
Well, okay,
Well, at
that's,
the very least, we should explore this, come up with some numbers. If the numbers make sense, then it'll help mitigate what we have to raise the others.
Right.
So we just gotta do this as a very first step.
Yep.
Get the numbers.
yes.
You have to have this information already, so.
Any other thoughts or comments on this?
This is cool.
It's good. Thanks for everybody stepping up.
Sure,
Brian, what else?
that's it.
That's it?
I believe for me, yeah.
Yeah, like an ABCDEF, there it is.
Right, right. Obviously, I'm not discussing, I don't think we should be discussing Harbor Master Building or the Maritime Marina build out, because frankly, those are a couple of years behind that, so let's first figure out how we're gonna pay for dredging. Because dredging certainly seems to be more of a reality than the other two right now, and you can't do the Maritime Marina build out until we do the dredging.
No. Brian, great update. I took way too many notes. Learned a lot today. Nice job. Thank you so much.
Sure.
It's a phenomenal job. Thank you, Brian.
Howie, for you, anytime.
I'm telling you.
Can you share that with us, Greg?
This? Sure.
Okay. Get back to the agenda. Item 11 is waterway schedule for 2024. Alicia, thank you. Elisa, we went through and came up with a set of a draft agenda or a draft meeting schedule. Everybody should have a copy in front of them. Our goal is again to have Zoom hybrid meetings through around May. And then hopefully we'll get back down to the Maritime Center in person, and we'll go again and sort of look at August on having a no meeting August like we've been doing, as long as nothing crazy is happening. And then what we want to try to do, and maybe we even look at October, getting back to a Zoom hybrid as well. I just wanted to at least get something down for everybody, so we have these rooms already held. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments from what we put together?
Is the library or the, not available? Because this room, I would say it's nicer than the
Yes.
selectmen's room. It's
I
just
agree.
not-
It is always a challenge to get this room. It's a very popular room, but I know
Good
that
now.
we've looked to try to figure out, we've tried to get where we need to be at when we have to be here, so. We've done pretty good to be here, and this is great, but we'll deal with it.
We'll get through 2025.
Yeah, so that's the schedule. Is there anybody that would like to say anything else for public comment, questions and answers? Anybody out there in TV land? Anybody else here? I think everybody's had a good chance here at the
That's what
table
I'm just trying to do, yeah.
to have some discussions. Anybody else want to say anything that's watching online?
Dave, you have no hands raised.
Very good. With that, then I'll, oh, so it's over. Are we good? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting at 7:07.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I appreciate all the hard work everybody's been doing.